When Shi Yan arrived at the hospital, dawn had already fully broken. The hospital on a weekday was packed to capacity. The general ward area housed at least 100 patients, and with accompanying family members. It was even noisier and chaotic. Fortunately, Su Muchen had arrived late last night, and the on-duty doctor, fearing disturbance to other patients' rest, had assigned him a private room. But this room was exceedingly simple. So simple that it only had a bed, a sofa, and a table. Even the restroom required a trip to the communal one down the hall. When Shi Yan pushed open the door, Su Muchen was sitting on the sofa, one hand resting on his chin, the other holding his phone, and scrolling through financial news. Shi Yan's opening of the door was a bit forceful, and Su Muchen's cold expression instantly turned sharp and severe, sending shivers down one's spine. But Shi Yan remained unfazed. Song Qiaoyi, in her deep sleep, twitched twice without waking, yet caught Shi Yan's attention. Song Qiaoyi was lying with her back to Shi Yan, so he couldn't see her face, but he was very curious. What kind of girl could make Su Muchen, this iron tree, bloom? Su Muchen raised his chin, signaling Shi Yan put the items in the corner and then leave. Shi Yan's curiosity had already been piqued. How could he let go of this opportunity? Su Muchen and Shi Yan were sworn brothers. With just a look or a gesture from Shi Yan, Su Muchen immediately knew what he intended. Just like now, Su Muchen reacted quickly, blocking Song Qiaoyi before Shi Yan could see her, using his body to shield her face. A glance signaled Shi Yan to speak outside. In the smoking area, Shi Yan leaned against a wall, a cigarette held between his distinctively jointed fingers, exhaling smoke. Who's that woman? Su Muchen knew Shi Yan was a big mouth, and he wasn't ready to let others know yet. You'll know when you're supposed to. Shi Yan nudged Su Muchen's arm with his elbow. Don't be so stingy. Just tell me. I'm really curious what kind of woman could catch your eye. Su Muchen, however, didn't indulge him, directly changing the subject. I remember you know the director of this hospital, right? Yeah, why? Shi Yan knew Su Muchen's temperament. If he didn't want to say, no one could force him, so he decided not to press further. Anyway, he had plenty of ways to find out who the woman was. Su Muchen, the VIP wards are full. Go talk to the director and have him arrange one immediately. When Su Muchen had first stepped out earlier, the noisy commotion in the corridor was so loud it could be heard even inside the ward. Adding to that, he remembered Song Qiaoyi curled up on a single sofa, looking so vulnerable and pitiful. His heart ached, but to avoid exposing his identity in front of Song Qiaoyi, he could only let Shi Yan handle it. Thinking it was something major, Shi Yan scoffed. Big brother, why don't you just go say it yourself? Your influence is much more effective than mine. Su Muchen didn't bother to explain further to Shi Yan. Let's talk, just go. Otherwise, I'll tell that person where you are. Shi Yan surrendered with both hands. All right, you win. I'll go, isn't that enough? Half an hour later, Song Qiaoyi was woken up by the nurse who came in to clean the ward. She had been sleeping soundly, and when she sat up from the bed, her eyes were still full of confusion. Where was she? The pungent smell of disinfectant filled her nostrils. Oh, right, she remembered. Su Muchen had food poisoning yesterday. She had brought him to the hospital and stayed to look after him all night. In the ward now, besides a newly arrived nurse, Su Muchen was nowhere to be seen. Where had he gone? The nurse was cleaning the ward when Song Qiaoyi softly asked, Hello, may I ask where the patient from this room is? The nurse looked up, her eyes filled with disdain, and said 3 words in an unkind tone. Don't know. The nurse stood a meter away from bed, her contemptuous gaze scanning Song Qiaoyi up and down. You, a caregiver, asking me where the patient went? Isn't that a bit ridiculous? The nurse seemed full of hostility towards Song Qiaoyi. Song Qiaoyi belatedly realized. She was a caregiver. How could she turn around and ask the nurse where the patient was? Her face felt a little hot. Song Qiaoyi gave an awkward smile. Unexpectedly, the nurse, feeling she had the upper hand, continued to barrage Song Qiaoyi on the bed with sarcastic remarks. And what's the meaning of you sleeping in the patient's bed? If you can't handle hardship, then don't stay here. Go home early. We're here, and we'll take very good care of the patient. Hospital nurses were usually quite gossipy, and a handsome man of Su Muchen's caliber, upon admission, quickly became the talk of the nursing staff. Everyone wanted to come and see him, especially since he was upgraded to a super VIP ward by the hospital director himself. They were certain Su Muchen must be a wealthy young master from some conglomerate, and they scrambled to get a glimpse of him. Kang Jianing was one of them. It was just that as soon as she entered, she saw Song Qiaoyi sprawled out on the hospital bed. So naturally, she wouldn't give Song Qiaoyi a pleasant look. Song Qiaoyi wasn't stupid. She could see Kang Jianing's unfriendliness towards her. However, she didn't pay it much mind. After all, if Su Muchen was going to continue staying in the hospital, she would definitely have to keep interacting with the nurses. So it was better to be polite. She was just curious how she ended up in the bed. Wasn't she on the sofa just now? Did she sleepwalk? Kang Jianing stopped her tidying, but still wouldn't let up. I don't know how you manage to be a girlfriend. You can't even care for a patient or even tidy a room. You should just go home early. Once he's transferred to the VIP ward, we'll have dedicated staff to care for the patient 24 hours a day. Kang Jianing already had feelings for Su Muchen. Now seeing that he had a girlfriend, a woman's natural jealousy wouldn't allow her to say anything pleasant. At this point, even if Song Qiaoyi were dull, she could understand. Right, this was clearly a woman who was interested in Su Muchen. Unwanted romantic attention. Song Qiaoyi remembered Su Muchen saying that he had never been in a relationship or had a girlfriend before. She really wanted to know how Su Muchen had managed to avoid all these women and stay single for the past 28 years. Could it be that he had issues in that department? But then again, just looking at Su Muchen's face, even without an intimate life, one could still manage to get by. No, no. Where had her thoughts wandered off to? Song Qiaoyi blushed. Just as she was about to explain that she wasn't Su Muchen's girlfriend, she realized what Kang Jianing had just said. Upgraded to a VIP ward? No, when was the room upgraded? Did she really sleepwalk? Song Qiaoyi was about to ask Kang Jianing for clarification about the ward upgrade. A low-pressure atmosphere descended as Su Muchen walked in with a dark expression, his eyes and brows chilling as he looked at Kang Jianing. How she takes care of me is our own business. It has nothing to do with you, and you certainly don't need to point fingers. Understand? Su Muchen had always appeared gentle in Song Qiaoyi's eyes. This was the first time she'd seen him with such a cold, somber expression. Seeing Su Muchen unceremoniously warn her in front of his girlfriend, defending her, Kang Jianing's eyes burned with jealousy. She bit her lip. But that's just how it is. She slept in your bed. Where will you sleep? You're a patient. We can't let a patient sleep on the sofa, right? Besides, taking care of patients is one of our duties as nurses, especially since you're our VIP client now. The air in the ward seemed to freeze. Noticing something was amiss, Song Qiaoyi cautiously spoke. Since there's a nurse here, then perhaps I should go back first? Su Muchen looked at Song Qiaoyi, his tone immediately softening. Don't go. It sounded almost like a plea. This made Kang Jianing's eyes redden even more. But Su Muchen seemed a little sad. Is it not possible? It was possible, yes, but it upgraded to a VIP ward with accompanying nurse service and wasn't using it. What a waste. Song Qiaoyi shook her head, offering a faint smile. I actually had an appointment today, so I'll go make a call first. Go ahead. The moment Song Qiaoyi left, Su Muchen's demeanor instantly shifted. He looked at Kang Jianing with an even sharper, more chilling gaze than before. I don't need your special services. You can leave. From Su Muchen's dark eyes shot forth flashes of cold light, an icy chill that permeated to the bones. Kang Jianing was shaken by his terrifying gaze, backing away several steps. Kang Jianing felt as if she was in an ice cellar, trembling uncontrollably. She wanted to say something more, but Su Muchen didn't give her the chance. Get out. When Song Qiaoyi re-entered the ward after making her call, the young nurse was no longer in sight. Where's the nurse? Su Muchen said faintly. She probably left. His tone was indifferent and distant, as if it had nothing to do with him. Song Qiaoyi didn't think much of it and started packing her things. Aren't you going to notify your family? Aren't you afraid they'll worry? Song Qiaoyi had her back to Su Muchen and didn't see his expression turn cold after hearing her words. No need. Su Muchen's tone was cold. Song Qiaoyi noticed it, holding Su Muchen's clothes. She turned around, meeting his eyes, which were filled with regret and a touch of sadness. Song Qiaoyi guessed something and tactfully changed the subject. Su Muchen, I packed my things. Let's go. Su Muchen simply replied, Okay. He stood up, took the bag Kang Jianing had just tidied, and turned to leave. Song Qiaoyi scurried forward and snatched the bag from his hand. Let me carry it. Song Qiaoyi felt a slight apprehension. Kang Jianing was just one of them. What if they arrived at the VIP ward, and the nurses there saw Su Muchen carrying the bag himself while she didn't help? She would surely be subjected to another round of sarcastic remarks. She was afraid she wouldn't be able to hold back. Su Muchen raised an eyebrow. As if seeing through her thoughts, he spoke to alleviate her concerns. Don't worry. I've already requested the hospital not to provide such special services anymore. Song Qiaoyi's expression conveyed a question mark. Upgrading to a VIP ward grants such immense power to even make demands of the hospital? Is he that formidable? Song Qiaoyi pouted. Never mind. It wasn't her business anyway. Song Qiaoyi carried the items to the ward door, not noticing something on the floor. She kicked it, and the contents of a tote bag in the corner spilled out. Song Qiaoyi lowered her head. Inside the tote bag were several winter clothes. She saw a mint green top and a pair of white jeans among them. Why was there a bag of clothes here? Su Mukin's voice rang out behind her. Those are clothes prepared for you. Clothes prepared for her. Song Qiaoyi crouched down and rummaged through the tote bag. She looked back in surprise. Why did you prepare clothes for me? I just asked a friend to bring them. The one you're wearing, it needs changing. Song Qiaoyi looked down at her clothes. Indeed, they needed changing. Last night, in the early hours at the hospital, Su Muchen, feeling unwell, had vomited several times unconsciously, some of it landing on Song Qiaoyi. Although Song Qiaoyi had immediately rinsed it with water, stains remained, and there was even a faint odor now. Song Qiaoyi was always meticulous about cleanliness. If not for having to stay and look after Su Muchen, she would have returned to her apartment to change long ago. She just hadn't expected it. Hadn't expected Su Muchen to be so thoughtful. A part of her heart felt warmed. Thank you. After a simple thank you, Song Qiaoyi tidied up the spilled clothes. A black bag inside caught her attention. Opening it, she found it was underwear and briefs. Oh heavens! How did even these get bought? The thought of a stranger buying such intimate clothing for her. Song Qiaoyi's face flushed crimson, burning hot. She hastily shoved the black bag to the bottom of the tote bag, but didn't realize she was using too much force, and had already poked a hole in the tote bag. Song Qiaoyi stood up, carrying the tote bag and preparing to enter the bathroom, when the light black bag floated out from the bottom of the tote bag. Su Muchen, who was standing behind her, picked it up. You dropped something. A soft, yielding touch. It felt quite comfortable when squeezed. Song Qiaoyi turned around to sound, saw Su Muchen about to open the black bag in his hand, and with lightning speed, snatched it from him, then, face flushed, ran into the bathroom. How mortifying. Su Muchen raised an eyebrow. What could it be that provoked such a strong reaction from her? Recalling the soft, yielding touch. Then remembering Song Qiaoyi's flushed face as she ran into the bathroom. Su Muchen had his answer. His face darkened. He snorted coldly. He hadn't expected that fellow Shi Yan to even buy these. Everything, both necessary and unnecessary, had been bought. Su Muchen now understood why Shi Yan had said that earlier. You'll thank me. Well, I'll be. No wonder he said that. Su Muchen pulled out his phone, opened a chat with a WeChat ID named Yvette. Then, without hesitation, he threw Shi Yan under the bus. Song Qiaoyi changed her clothes and walked out of the bathroom, seeing Su Muchen leaning against the sofa, legs crossed, looking out the window. She didn't know what Su Muchen was thinking, so engrossed was he in his thoughts. His sharply defined profile was incredibly handsome. Song Qiaoyi walked over and softly called Su Muchen's name. Su Muchen, I'm ready. We can go now. Su Muchen looked back, meeting Song Qiaoyi's gaze. Her eyes were as clear as if water had been wrung out of them, clean, innocent, and completely guileless. They really were too similar. Song Qiaoyi stayed with Su Muchen in the hospital for a whole day. Although she didn't know why Su Muchen was unwilling to actively mention his family. Since he didn't want to talk about it, he must have his own difficulties. Furthermore, she bore some responsibility for Su Muchen's food poisoning. So, taking care of Su Muchen was also what she ought to do. The VIP ward consisted of two rooms, one large and one small. The smaller room was for the accompanying person to sleep in, and the toilet and bathroom were also separate. Even a kitchen was provided. Since there was a kitchen, Song Qiaoyi could personally prepare meals for Su Muchen. Song Qiaoyi was an excellent cook. In just half an hour, she made 3 dishes and a soup, light and delicious, very suitable for Su Muchen to eat now. Song Qiaoyi looked expectant. How is it? Does it suit your taste? It's delicious. Song Qiaoyi had grown accustomed to cooking according to Lu Yubai's taste in the past, and tonight, she inadvertently prepared a meal for Su Muchen following his preferences as well. Lu Yubai preferred stronger flavors, so he would always complain a bit after eating. But unlike Lu Yubai, Su Muchen never stinted on his praise for her. After the meal, Su Muchen was wheeled away by a nurse for examination, and Song Qiaoyi waited for him outside the examination room. Song Qiaoyi was playing on her phone when suddenly she was pulled forcefully. Before she could react, she was dragged into a nearby fire escape. Song Qiaoyi, where were you last night? Your phone was off too. Do you have any idea? I waited for you downstairs at the apartment building the entire night. Lu Yubai's accusing voice immediately rang out above Song Qiaoyi's head. She looked up. Song Qiaoyi met Lu Yubai's angry gaze, which seemed to vaguely carry a hint of worry about her disappearance for the night. Worry? Song Qiaoyi was amused by her own foolish thought. How could Lu Yubai possibly worry about her? He was just annoyed because she was starting to become uncontrollable and disobedient to his commands. Nothing more. And also, just how far have things progressed between you and that man, that you're even with him at the hospital late at night? Lu Yubai had seen it all. He had seen Song Qiaoyi pushing a wheelchair, following the nurse from the direction of the VIP ward. The man sitting in the wheelchair was none other than that man. Seeing Song Qiaoyi didn't respond, Lu Yubai muttered to himself, It seems Sinyu was right. Song Qiaoyi heard him, looked up. What did Jiang Sinyu say? Lu Yubai gave Song Qiaoyi a disappointed look. Sinyu said that when I secretly took her to that banquet, you were the one who leaked it to Grandpa afterward. Song Qiaoyi hadn't expected Lu Yubai to suspect her based on a single sentence from Jiang Sinyu. She retorted, What good would it do me to leak it to Grandpa Lu? She said, You probably had someone else outside, but you were just held back by not knowing how to explain it to Grandpa, afraid of ruining your image in his heart. Now, you can just use Sinyu and my situation as an excuse to naturally push the blame onto me. Song Qiaoyi laughed bitterly. She clapped her hands, a bitter smile on her face, and said, Then let me ask you, if that's really the case, why would I drag myself into trouble to help you at your house that day? Shouldn't I have just exposed you both? Lu Yubai fell silent. He felt Song Qiaoyi's words seemed reasonable. He calmed down instantly. Lu Yubai's tone softened. Song Qiaoyi, this is all just Sinyu's guess. Don't take it too much to heart. This was the first time Lu Yubai had actively yielded to Song Qiaoyi, but she didn't seem to appreciate it, making him feel a bit awkward for a moment. I guess? Just a casual remark like that. Lu Yubai was completely oblivious to his own problem. Hey, Song Qiaoyi, I've already conceded to you. What more do you want? I don't want anything, Lu Yubai. We've known each other for over 20 years. Don't you understand what kind of person I am? How many times have I taken a fall for you, from back then until now? Can you even count them? For every step Lu Yubai took closer, Song Qiaoyi took a step back, extending her hand to block him. You can so easily, without a second thought, suspect me just because of Jiang Sinyu's guess. I ask you, have you ever considered me? Lu Yubai realized Song Qiaoyi was genuinely angry, and he wanted to explain, But Song Qiaoyi didn't give him the chance. Song Qiaoyi raised her hand again. You don't need to explain. The fact that you asked means you chose to believe Jiang Sinyu's words, so there's nothing left to explain. Song Qiaoyi spoke decisively, but her heart was already riddled with 1,000 holes of pain. How she wished Lu Yubai would pull her back and explain that he believed her. Unfortunately, until the moment the fire escape door closed, Lu Yubai showed no intention of holding her back. Inside the ward, Su Muchen was on the balcony taking a call. Song Qiaoyi sat on the sofa, closing her eyes, trying to calm herself for a moment. Why was it that even now, a single doubt, even a single word from Lu Yubai, could still so easily affect her mood? Song Qiaoyi decided to take a shower. Sometimes a shower can help one clear their head. But what Song Qiaoyi hadn't expected was that as soon as she entered the bathroom and reached out to turn on the shower head, a loud bursting sound suddenly erupted. Bang! Ah! Accompanied by the sudden explosion of the water pipe. Water under extreme pressure gushed out unexpectedly. Song Qiaoyi couldn't dodge in time, and it hit her squarely on the back, causing her to shriek in fright. At the door, Su Muchen, having finished his call, was completely distraught. He subconsciously lit a cigarette, just about to return to his own ward. Suddenly, he heard an extremely abnormal bursting sound from behind him. Bang! Followed immediately by a terrified scream. That scream was clearly Song Qiaoyi's voice. Su Muchen's pupils contracted instantly. He didn't hesitate for a second, putting out the cigarette in his hand as he ran to the adjoining room. Knocking on the door, Song Qiaoyi? There was no response. Su Muchen realized something might have gone wrong inside. It looked like the water pipe in the small bathroom of the accompanying room had burst. He tried to open the door, but he found the door locked from the inside by Song Qiaoyi. Su Muchen took out his phone, simultaneously tried to call Song Qiaoyi, unsure if the call would connect, while also attempting to open the door. Song Qiaoyi's phone was outside the bathroom. She naturally couldn't answer the call. Su Muchen was entirely preoccupied with worrying if Song Qiaoyi was hurt, completely forgetting that he could call a nurse to open the door. The situation was urgent. Su Muchen directly rammed the door open with his body. He pushed the door open and strode in like an arrow. Song Qiaoyi, are you all right? Inside the bathroom at that moment, it was utterly chaotic. Song Qiaoyi was about to take a shower when, unexpectedly, the nearby water pipe suddenly burst. Water under extreme pressure rushed toward her, directly reddening the delicate skin on her back. The incident was sudden, catching Song Qiaoyi off guard. To avoid being hit again by the strong water pressure, she hastily turned off the shower head first. Then she haphazardly grabbed a bathrobe from nearby, loosely wrapped around herself, and began frantically trying to fix the water pipe. Song Qiaoyi was squatting on the floor. She was almost soaked through. Song Qiaoyi covered the burst pipe with a towel to stop the gushing water. But water still sprayed out like a fountain from the side, and she was too flustered to notice the sounds outside, much less Su Muchen's call. However, just as Song Qiaoyi looked as miserable as a chick that had accidentally fallen into water and couldn't float back up, bang! The bathroom door was suddenly pushed open. Song Qiaoyi lifted her eyes, and amidst the splashing water, she unexpectedly met a pair of sharp, yet upturned eyes. Water burst from the pipe, spraying wildly. They uncontrollably hit Song Qiaoyi's eyelashes, making them flutter like butterflies as she tilted her head to avoid them, her vision blurry and flickering. Drenched, Song Qiaoyi was a little dazed. She squatted on the floor, clutching her bathrobe, her hand still pressing against the pipe with a towel, and looked up at the man in front of her. Su Muchen seemed slightly out of breath. It wasn't until he saw Song Qiaoyi safe and sound that the heavy weight on Su Muchen's heart slowly lifted. Su Muchen's atoms apple bobbed slightly. He took a moment to calm his breathing, then knelt beside her, his voice urgent and tense, saying, "Are you all right?" Song Qiaoyi slowly blinked her eyes. It was Su Muchen. It really was Su Muchen. At that moment, Song Qiaoyi didn't know if it was tears of joy from being rescued from her predicament, or simply relief from a helping hand extended in her moment of helplessness. Her eyes instantly welled up. Song Qiaoyi lifted her innocent little face, tears still brimming in her eyes. The pipe burst. Su Muchen hummed, "I saw." Song Qiaoyi pouted, "I don't know how to fix it." Su Muchen affectionately ruffled Song Qiaoyi's hair. "Girls don't need to fix this kind of thing. Leave it to me." Su Muchen extended his hand. "Come, get up first." Song Qiaoyi obediently reached out her hand. Su Muchen took it naturally. The moment their hands met, Song Qiaoyi felt something inside her soften. The scorching warmth of the man's palm flowed through her fingertips, and her body also began to warm up. Song Qiaoyi felt this was a long-lost yet unfamiliar sense of warmth. When she was with Liu Yu Bai before, Song Qiaoyi was always alone. She had never experienced this. But now, she finally didn't have to face things alone. There was a feeling that someone could finally wholeheartedly shield her from the wind and rain, a feeling of being held tightly. Song Qiaoyi stood up. She wrapped in her bathrobe and obediently moved to the side. Song Qiaoyi's soaking wet hair was piled at the nape of her neck, and she buried her chin in the collar of her bathrobe like someone startled. Su Muchen walked to the burst pipe. He held the towel, pressing it against the burst opening. The veins on the back of his slightly broad hand were faintly visible, and his long, slender fingers with clear knuckles were pale. Song Qiaoyi stared at him foolishly. The crack she couldn't even press closed with the towel was actually covered so easily by Su Muchen. He quickly found the water valve and turned it off. The gushing water was mostly stopped. At least it wasn't like before, completely uncontrollable water pressure, splashing all over the bathroom. Song Qiaoyi. So it was that simple. She pursed her lips. When she lived alone abroad, she occasionally encountered unexpected situations, but she always called someone to come and handle them. When Song Qiaoyi was with Liu Yu Bai, she had to force herself to appear as if she could do everything. But in reality, she was the one who most needed to be taken care of. Song Qiaoyi was lost in thought. She didn't notice that Su Muchen had already fixed the pipe and was walking toward her, his voice gentle. "Are you hurt?" Song Qiaoyi didn't react. "What?" Su Muchen looked at Song Qiaoyi with intense eyes and asked again, "I heard you scream at the door just now. Did you injure somewhere?" This time Song Qiaoyi understood clearly. She probably had indeed been stung by the water pressure just now. It hurt a little, but the location of the wound seemed a little too sensitive. Song Qiaoyi's face instantly flushed, and she subconsciously tightened the bathrobe around herself, preparing to conceal the fact that she was injured. Then she saw Su Muchen roll up his sleeves and reach out toward her. "Let me see." Song Qiaoyi's cheeks grew even redder. Meeting Su Muchen's eyes, she felt a little guilty. The wet hair draped over her shoulders seemed almost to be steamed dry by the heat she exuded from shyness. Song Qiaoyi nervously clutched her bathrobe with her hands. She retreated a few steps, not daring to look into Su Muchen's eyes, stammering, It's on my back. Su Muchen paused slightly. He looked at Song Qiaoyi's face and the exposed pale arms, confirming she wasn't lying. Song Qiaoyi's eyes flickered. She was already breathing rapidly from nervousness. She even forgot that she was in a hospital and could ask a nurse for help. Song Qiaoyi felt a bit awkward. She turned her face away. It's just a small problem, not very convenient. Maybe just forget about it. She only had one thought now, to escape from here as quickly as possible. Without a trace of hesitation, Song Qiaoyi wrapped her bathrobe even tighter around herself and turned to flee from the room. Su Muchen reacted quickly. He grabbed Song Qiaoyi's hand and with a pull, turned her whole body around. Fortunately, she was holding tightly to her bathrobe. Otherwise, it would have been mortifying. Song Qiaoyi plucked up her courage and looked up. Her eyes met Su Muchen's deep, unfathomable gaze, which swirled with a gentleness that seemed to want to engulf her. Su Muchen stared intently at her. In his dark eyes, there seemed to be a powerful allure, a magic that Song Qiaoyi couldn't refuse. Su Muchen gestured toward the sofa with a tilt of his chin. "Go lie on the sofa." Song Qiaoyi felt her heart skip a beat. She clutched the corner of her clothes, wondering what she just heard. Lying prone on the sofa? Oh my God, Su Muchen wasn't going to look at her back, was he? Song Qiaoyi appeared calm on the surface, but inside, she was already panicking wildly, screaming internally. But the wound was on her back, and she couldn't apply the medicine herself. Besides, it was just her back. When she was abroad, she often wore bikinis at the swimming pool. Now it was just her back. That's all. Anyway, nothing else would be visible. As Song Qiaoyi thought about it, she felt she might be a bit too overly sensitive. Perhaps Su Muchen didn't mean anything by it. He just purely wanted to help her apply the medicine. Song Qiaoyi steeled herself and turned around, with her back to Su Muchen. Song Qiaoyi knelt on the sofa, not forgetting to grab a nearby cushion and bury her face in it. You hurry up. Song Qiaoyi, face buried, shook her head and didn't forget to wiggle her feet twice. Arg. She really regretted telling him she'd injured her back. Song Qiaoyi had personally put herself in an awkward situation. As she lay prone on the sofa waiting for Su Muchen, she inexplicably felt like she was bathed and perfumed, waiting for the Emperor to choose her for his favor. Song Qiaoyi was extremely annoyed. The sofa beside her waist suddenly dipped. Song Qiaoyi urged again, Quickly, let's get this over with. Su Muchen raised an eyebrow, repeating, Get it over with quickly? Song Qiaoyi's scalp instantly prickled. Their current ambiguous posture, one in front, one behind, coupled with what she had just said. Song Qiaoyi only then realized what suggestive words she had uttered. Su Muchen became interested. Do you usually make suggestive jokes to others? Song Qiaoyi shook her head frantically, burying her face even deeper, denying repeatedly. No, no. Su Muchen lightly tapped the back of her head. Don't do that next time, remember? Song Qiaoyi nodded repeatedly. Su Muchen shifted his legs. The sofa on either side of her waist undulated irregularly again. Song Qiaoyi's psychological preparation, which she had just barely completed, crumbled very fragilely at that moment. Then Song Qiaoyi heard Su Muchen's low, magnetic voice, burning her ears, echoing above her. Where is it? Song Qiaoyi held her breath nervously. She felt the tips of her ears grow hot, and her spine tingled in anticipation. A little bit lower down. Song Qiaoyi nervously clutched the corner of the cushion. She felt a chill down her spine. After all, Su Muchen had lowered her bathrobe, and even without seeing his face, she could feel his gaze on her. It was too shameful and excruciatingly difficult to endure. Su Muchen, even lower? Song Qiaoyi desperately wanted to end this quickly, answering in a muffled voice. About here. Song Qiaoyi reached out and pointed to the spot. It was basically near her lower abdomen, a spot that was quite personal. No wonder she was so shy. Song Qiaoyi gripped the pillow beside her even more nervously. I might not be able to apply it well in that spot. Su Muchen's Adam's apple bobbed slightly. Even with just a single syllable, one could sense his voice tightening, growing terribly hoarse and low. His Adam's apple bobbed again, Su Muchen's voice growing even tighter. That spot, it's not appropriate for me to help you apply the medicine. I'll call a nurse for you. He felt this was absolutely agonizing, even understanding at that moment what it meant to be more difficult to be a human than a beast. Huh. Song Qiaoyi's tone seemed a little disappointed. Su Muchen caught it and teased. Oh? Disappointed? Actually, I could help you apply the medicine. Song Qiaoyi shook her head like a rattle drum. No, it's fine. Call the nurse. She was just speechless at herself. In her nervousness, she only now remembered she was in a hospital. There were plenty of nurses outside. She was truly defeated by herself. But Song Qiaoyi had her back to Su Muchen and didn't see his slightly disappointed expression, nor the trace of forbearance in his eyes. Su Muchen actually really wanted to help Song Qiaoyi apply the medicine, but he didn't want this kind of ambiguous, opportunistic behavior. He could wait until the day Song Qiaoyi agreed to him. Su Muchen called a nurse, and with the nurse helping Song Qiaoyi apply the medicine, he naturally and wisely prepared to leave the room. Just before closing the door, Su Muchen saw it. The high-pressure water jet had caused a red mark on Song Qiaoyi's delicate skin, and there were also faint spots where a thin layer of skin had been peeled off. He felt a deep pang of heartache, and he was also very angry. The very next morning, the dean personally intervened, appearing in the ward to apologize in person. Song Qiaoyi was stunned. For her, last night's unexpected incident was a very minor matter, absolutely not requiring such a big fuss. The dean offered to change their ward again and provide compensation, but Su Muchen refused both. He said he wanted to be discharged. Isn't that bad? You should stay 2 more days and get some good rest. Song Qiaoyi was a little worried, as Su Muchen's complexion still didn't look very good. Su Muchen refused, comforting her. Don't worry, I'm fine now. Leaving the hospital, Su Muchen first drove Song Qiaoyi back to her apartment. Then he turned the car around and drove in another direction. The Su family estate. Su Muchen stood at the entrance of the Su family estate, glancing sideways at the Su family villa. which had been uninhabited for a long time, not far away. That was where he and Lin Fei used to live. Now it had long been locked up by Su Yan, prohibiting anyone from entering. The fence outside the villa had long become loose and rusty due to years of disrepair, basically already dilapidated. Su Muchen still remembered that when he was little, because he wasn't allowed into the Su family estate. He would often stand by the fence, gazing at the estate, especially on his birthday every year. He would stand by the fence early, just to be able to see Su Yan sooner. The wind rattled the fence. The dilapidated fence was like Su Muchen's current mood. Every time he returned to the Su family estate, his heart felt heavy. Su Muchen had received a call from the estate butler last night, the gist of which was that Su Yan wanted him to come home immediately. What was ridiculous was that it was always the estate butler who called Su Muchen. In all these years, he had never once received a call from Su Yan himself. Ground floor of the estate. Su Yan sat on the sofa, dressed in a bespoke suit, legs crossed, one hand resting by his side, the other holding a phone, watching financial news. Su Muchen entered at that moment. Su Yan heard the sound of the door opening, and as he turned his gaze, it met Su Muchen's emotionless eyes. Su Muchen got straight to the point, asking, "What did you call me back for?" He just wanted to know why Su Yan had called him back, and then leave. He wasn't willing to stay in this house for even a minute. "Muchen, you're back." A gentle voice drifted down from the second floor. Kang Jianing, Su Yan's legitimate wife, from a prestigious family, was the wife grandfather Su had designated for Su Yan while he was alive. Su Muchen was rather polite to Kang Jianing, simply greeting her, and Zhang. Su Muchen knew that Zhang Jai was a very kind person. When he and Lin Fei used to live in the villa, she had always helped them both openly and secretly. After Lin Fei's unexpected death, Zhang Jai had once offered to raise Su Muchen herself, but because of Su Muchen's resentment towards Su Yan at that time, he refused. In the first few years after Su Muchen went abroad, Zhang Jai used to send him some money every month. Later, after he achieved success in his career, he returned that money to Zhang Jai every month. Zhang Jai was very warm. "Are you hungry? Andy has prepared your favorite dishes from when you were little." Su Muchen didn't dislike Zhang Jai, so he spoke to her naturally and politely. "No need, I'll be leaving soon." "You've only just returned after so long. Why are you in such a hurry to leave? Your father—" "Enough. This doesn't concern you. Go upstairs and stay there." Su Yan sharply interrupted Zhang Jai. Compared to Zhang Jai's warmth, Su Yan's tone was exceptionally cold. However, Su Muchen had long since gotten used to it. "Then Annie will go back to her room first. Muchen, talk nicely to your father. Su Yan interrupted her again, his attitude still very stern. "Aren't you going in quickly? What more do you have to say?" Su Yan had once treated Lin Fei with the same attitude, indirectly stirring up Su Muchen's painful childhood memories. Su Yan put down his phone, pushed up his glasses on the bridge of his nose, and questioned, "I heard you were riding a motorcycle in the suburban park a few days ago, with a woman accompanying you.